The story around the NFL that I don't think has gotten as big of a play as I expected it to over the season was the Aaron Rodgers saga and whether or not he was going to be back with the team next year, even after a season right now in which they're looking like one of the best teams in the NFL. I think either way for Aaron Rodgers, even if he goes out on top with a Super Bowl, it probably would be just the cherry on top for his Green Bay career. And it would just really signal the end for his time in Green Bay because if he gets to win a Super Bowl in his last season, I think he really would be able to just say to himself, he did everything he could to make this franchise as successful as possible. And with some of the things that are going to happen over the next offseason or so, it probably would be in his best interest to leave the team and look for greener pastures. Which sounds weird even if they win the Super Bowl, but you can't really fault Aaron Rodgers. Most of it has to do with the fact that he's going to be paid $46 million next year by whatever team is employing him to play quarterback for their franchise. So at the end of the day, I think both Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers would be better off with Aaron leaving the team next year. So let's talk about some teams that are good options for Aaron Rodgers to go to. Now, everyone has had a lot of suggestions that they've thrown out. I think a lot of people really talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think a lot of people talk about the New Orleans Saints, the Denver Broncos. Some teams that are in there are, they're consistently thrown out. Now, I'm just going to stop this whole Denver Broncos thing now because what do the Denver Broncos have to trade to Green Bay? Like, if I'm the Green Bay Packers, the Denver Broncos have nothing for me. Cool, they have Cortland Sutton. Cool, they have Bradley Chubb. Cool, they have Justin Simmons. Cool, they have nobody else outside of that. So, I hate to squash your dreams if you're a Denver Broncos fan, but, you're not getting Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. It's just, sometimes that's just how the dice roll. Yeah, and the other team that a lot of people talk about is this Pittsburgh Steelers thing. I don't know if the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be in the best interest of Aaron Rodgers after this year because, with everything going on this year with the Pittsburgh Steelers, this Chase Claypool thing that happened a couple of weeks ago, there's just rumors around the organization that they're not the same organization that they used to be, even just about 5 to 10 years ago when they were, in the thick of it for Super Bowl contention. And, we still don't know if Mike Tomlin's going to be the head coach next year. I would assume, and I would put my money on him being the head coach next year, but, we've seen crazier things happen in the NFL. Just look at what's happened in the college football coaching ranks over this offseason. I understand that that's not the NFL, but who knows? I would say that the NFL could almost be as volatile at the coaching position, if not more volatile, with how often guys get fired and hired. So, I would rule out Pittsburgh because it's just not a team right now who I think has it all together. And for Aaron Rodgers coming from a team who doesn't already have it all together with Green Bay and going to a different team that doesn't have it all together, I just don't see that being a good option for A-Rod. Now let's talk about some other teams that don't get enough shine in this Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. Let's talk about two teams right off the rip, and that's the Washington football team and the Tennessee Titans. Now, Tennessee is in a different boat from Washington because Tennessee has actually proved that they could be a decent team. I did just put out a video saying that they are major flukes, but with that being said, they're still a 9-4 team, and if you put Aaron Rodgers on a 9-4 team, you give him Julio Jones, you give him A.J. Brown, you give him Derrick Henry, you give him an improving defense, that would be an incredible team. That would probably be one of, if not the best teams in the NFL. And for the Washington football team, that's something that is actually a similar sentiment for me as well. Even though their record doesn't say it, I think the Washington football team has everything that Aaron Rodgers would want. He would have a coach that he would very well respect in Ron Rivera. He would have a wide receiver core of, I believe Curtis Samuel is there. Terry McLaurin is there. You got Logan Thomas at tight end. You got Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick, two solid running backs out of the backfield. Their offensive line got really injured this year. I think they're on their third or fourth center after Wes Schweitzer went down. But outside of that, they've got a defense that could wreak havoc. They've got a special teams that's decent. I think Washington has everything that Aaron Rodgers would really need. The only thing that they are missing is another top flight receiver. I wouldn't say Terry McLaurin is on the same level of Devontae Adams. He's maybe the level or two below that. But if you get Aaron Rodgers, another guy to play alongside Terry McLaurin, this team would take off and be, like I just said about the Tennessee Titans, one of the best teams in the NFL. I think there's always going to be rumors about Aaron Rodgers going to play for his hometown team in the San Francisco 49ers. I don't see it happening because they've got too much money tied up with other guys. I just don't see it happening. They do have a lot of what Aaron Rodgers would love to play with, though. A lot of weapons with Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, a lot of other guys on that team. A defense that's young but very, very experienced and very well coached and very, you know, they're a little bit unorthodox with with a couple of how their players play, but they play really well. And I think the fact that right now they're sitting at a 6-7 record after all of the injuries they've had to go through over the past few seasons, there's no telling what this team could do if they had a consistent quarterback like an Aaron Rodgers. But like I said, I just don't see it happening. Now, the Raiders are interesting to me because they're going to be one of those few teams who have a quarterback who makes as much money as Aaron Rodgers, who could be looking to offload that quarterback. I really think Derek Carr is not going to be the Raiders quarterback after this upcoming season or after this current season. And who better to replace Derek Carr with than Aaron Rodgers? You would get someone who would be the face of your franchise. You would get someone who's not afraid to be the guy speaking at the podium every single day. He obviously has shown in Green Bay that he can take whatever the reporters are going to say and understand that what he's saying he fully believes in, and what he thinks it's right. And I think there's no one better to spearhead a not rebuild, but probably a transition era for the Las Vegas Raiders and be competitive while they do it, because they do have weapons that Aaron Rodgers could play with, and they do have a decent offensive line, and they do have a defense that isn't good, but hopefully it improves due to the fact that it's really young. So I think Las Vegas, it's a sneaky top 3, top 4 destination probably for Aaron Rodgers. Now let's talk about a team who not only I think makes a lot of sense for Aaron Rodgers to go there, but I think if you pair this team and Aaron Rodgers' talent up, it becomes even better than a few of the teams that I've talked about already. This becomes one of the best teams in the NFL. The New Orleans Saints. They obviously need a better quarterback situation than what they have. Taysom Hill obviously is not the guy that they thought he was. He's a good gadget player, but he's not a quarterback. Jameis Winston, I don't have a lot of faith in him coming off a torn ACL. Trevor Siemian, obviously, don't have a lot of faith in him. You put Aaron Rodgers with Sean Payton, you give him Alvin Kamara, you give him Michael Thomas if he comes back, you give him some of the weapons that they got in New Orleans, and New Orleans has a good defense. Don't get me wrong, but offensively, this team is very, very skilled. They're one of the most skilled teams in the NFL. They're one of the best taught teams in the NFL. That's why so many guys who seem like no names end up being really big names for this team. And you put Aaron Rodgers there, this team takes off, and they are probably winning a Super Bowl. Now, this last thing I'm going to talk about, there's a lot of angles I'm going to go at with this, and I think you're going to really love the team I'm going to talk about right now, and that's the Minnesota Vikings. For one, they've got personnel at the player standpoint that really rivals what the Green Bay Packers have. You got 2 incredible receivers with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. You've got an incredible running back with Dalvin Cook. You've got a good offensive line that's been spearheaded by some young talent, a defense that historically has been really good, and in terms of what they have to do this offseason, really the only thing that they have to do is maybe bring back Patrick Peterson and bring back Anthony Barr. That's the only thing that's on their agenda. Xavier Woods, I believe, is a unrestricted free agent as well, so that's another move that they got to make. But getting Aaron Rodgers on your team, it also opens the door. You know, there's been a lot of rumors of Mike Zimmer possibly being out of Minnesota after this year. If that does happen, what if Minnesota gets Green Bay? What if they get Aaron Rodgers and they decide to have Eric Bieniemy be the head coach and offensive play caller for this team? Doesn't that just sound incredible? Doesn't that sound amazing? Not only would they be getting the best quarterback of the last 15 years in Aaron Rodgers, at least one of the best quarterbacks of the last 15 years. I'm sure Tom Brady would like to have a word. But you get one of the best offensive play callers with Eric Bieniemy. You'd be getting a offensive system that obviously is elite with the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think The Minnesota Vikings with Dalvin Cook, with Justin Jefferson, with Adam Thielen, with a good offensive line, with a complementary defense, with a special teams that does what they're supposed to do. The Minnesota Vikings would be the best team in the NFL if this were to happen.